Dear friend, if you're here today, it's not by accident. If you've ever loved someone who wounded you with words, manipulated your kindness, or twisted your truth, you are not alone. You've walked through a storm that few understand. You gave everything and in return felt empty. You prayed for peace and got silence. You tried to love and were met with cruelty. And yet, through every tear, through every sleepless night, through every moment when you questioned your own worth, God was there, not silent, not absent, present, watching, preparing. What if I told you that your pain was not wasted? What if I told you that your presence in that person's life was not punishment, but purpose? What if God placed you in the life of a narcissist not to break you, but to bless them through you, and to build you through him? My friend, God doesn't send soldiers into battle unless he has first trained them in the fire. And some of you have been walking through fire. But hear me, that fire is not meant to consume you. It's meant to refine you. So lean in, open your heart, because what we uncover today may just be the healing your soul has been crying out for. Now let us turn to some truths that will lift your spirit and anchor your heart. You were sent as a light into their darkness. This is not just a comforting phrase, it is a profound truth that can change the way you see your experience. When we face someone caught in the grip of narcissism, it can feel like walking into a storm with no shelter. Their world is often one of chaos, where empathy is scarce, and love is tangled in control and manipulation. Yet in the midst of that storm, God placed you there, not to be crushed, but a light shining in a dark place. You may have thought you were just trying to love someone, trying to hold on, trying to fix what seemed broken. But the truth is far greater. You were sent to show them a glimpse of something they had lost, something they might never admit. They needed genuine kindness, selflessness, and the unwavering love of a heart not bound by selfishness. God doesn't place us randomly in the lives of others. There is divine intentionality behind every encounter, every challenge, and every heartbreak. When you loved that narcissist, you weren't merely trying to fill your own heart or theirs. You were fulfilling a sacred mission. You were a mirror reflecting the possibility of a better way, a better life, a better heart. It's difficult to imagine now, but your presence had meaning beyond what you could see or feel. The light you carried was a seed planted in barren ground, waiting for a moment when it could grow, even if that moment hasn't arrived yet. Perhaps you didn't see yourself as strong or brave during those moments of pain and confusion. You might have doubted your worth, questioning why God would allow you to suffer at the hands of someone so self-centered and hurtful. But you were more powerful than you realized. Your very willingness to show up, to care, to hope, despite the rejection, was a quiet act of courage. It was a spiritual stand against the darkness that sought to consume both of you. In the silence of your suffering, God was at work, shaping your character, building your faith, and positioning you as a living testimony of what love can look like even when it is not returned. You may never hear the words, "thank you," or see a change in the narcissist's heart. That does not mean your light was wasted. Sometimes, the purpose of light is simply to exist, shining in a place where darkness thrives, so that others, watching from afar, can find their way out. You were that light, my friend. Your presence was an act of grace, a silent prayer that God alone will answer in His perfect time. When the world tried to tell you that your love was misplaced, God was telling you it was placed exactly where it needed to be. Because love is never wasted. Love always accomplishes something in the divine economy, even if that something is invisible to us in the moment. So hold on to this truth. You were not an accident in the life of a narcissist. You were sent as a light to illuminate, to expose, to endure, and to bless. The light you carried through those dark days is still burning. And that light will guide you out of the storm and into the purpose God has for you. God used the pain to reveal your true strength. When you look back on those days filled with heartache, confusion, and relentless emotional battles, it's easy to feel defeated. You may have believed that each blow, each manipulation, and each moment of rejection was meant to break you, to shatter your spirit and leave you empty. But what you might not have realized in the midst of the storm was that God was quietly working through that pain to unveil something powerful within you. He was revealing a strength that you didn't know you had, the strength of endurance, of faith, and of a heart that refuses to be broken beyond repair. Strength is not always loud or obvious. Sometimes it is the quiet resolve to stand when the world tells you to fall. Sometimes it is the courage to keep loving when your love is met with selfishness. Sometimes strength is found in the decision to believe in yourself and in God's plan when every circumstance seems to say otherwise. The narcissist's harsh words, the endless manipulation, the emotional roller coaster, they tried to steal your joy and your peace. But in those moments, God was teaching you to cling to something stronger than pain. He was teaching you resilience. What tried to crush you only carved out your calling. That pain, as heavy and overwhelming as it was, became the crucible in which your character was forged. God allowed you to face the fire not to consume you, but to shape you into someone who understands the depths of human brokenness and the power of healing. Your journey through this difficult chapter was never meant to be your final destination. It was a preparation ground for the greater mission that lies ahead. Because when you have walked through darkness and found your way out, you gain a light that can guide others. It's in these trials that you develop empathy, not just for yourself, but for everyone trapped in toxic relationships, everyone wrestling with feelings of worthlessness, and everyone searching for hope in a place where despair seems to rule. Your strength, born from suffering, becomes a bridge to others who need to hear that they too can survive, thrive, and break free. The God who sustained you in your darkest hours is the same God who can restore and renew all who come after you. You may have wondered why you had to suffer so deeply, why your love wasn't enough to change the person who hurt you. The answer lies not in their brokenness, but in your transformation. Your strength now speaks louder than any word the narcissist ever said. It is a testimony of survival, of faith, and of the power of God's grace. This strength is your victory. It is a beacon to anyone who feels powerless or hopeless in their own battle. So, recognize this truth: your pain was never wasted. It was a divine workshop where God revealed your true strength. You didn't just endure, you were transformed. And with this transformation comes a calling to use your story, your strength, and your faith to help others find their way out of the darkness. The strength God revealed in you is not just for your healing, it is the foundation of your purpose. You are stronger today because God has made you strong through what you have suffered. You were a mirror they couldn't face. This truth may be difficult to accept, but it holds tremendous power when understood. In the presence of a narcissist, your honesty, your humility, and your genuine self became a reflection they were not ready to see. Narcissists thrive in worlds of illusion and control. They build walls of arrogance and self-importance to hide the deep insecurities and brokenness within. When you showed up with your authentic self, flawed, vulnerable, and real, you became a living truth they could neither ignore nor endure. A mirror does not lie. It reflects exactly what is placed before it without alteration or disguise. And the narcissist, wrapped in their layers of denial and self-deception, could not look into that mirror without seeing what they had been hiding even from themselves. You held up the reflection of integrity, of genuine love, of a heart willing to serve rather than dominate. And that reflection was uncomfortable, unsettling, and sometimes even threatening to their carefully constructed world. This is not your fault, nor is it your burden to carry. It is simply the nature of what it means to be the bearer of truth in a relationship clouded by lies and manipulation. The narcissist's reaction to you was not because you were too much or too weak, but because you were real. Your presence shattered the fantasy they created to protect themselves from pain and vulnerability. And when the truth shines its light, it exposes shadows that some would rather leave hidden. In your humility and honesty, you revealed a stark contrast to their self-centeredness. Where they demanded admiration and control, you offered understanding and grace. Where they sought to dominate, you chose to listen and to love. This was a mirror reflecting qualities they either could not or would not embrace. And in this reflection, they found a challenge they could neither conquer nor escape. It stirred something deep within them: fear, anger, confusion. Because the mirror reflected not only who they were, but who they were not willing to become. God placed you there for this very reason. You were not meant to change the narcissist by force or confrontation, but by the quiet power of your authenticity. Your realness was a testimony of what life could be when lived with humility and love rather than selfishness and deceit. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply be yourself, steadfast and unyielding, even when it makes others uncomfortable. You might have hoped for gratitude or change, but those are gifts the narcissist may never be able to give. However, what you did give was a chance for them to see what genuine love looks like, a chance for them to face the parts of themselves they have long ignored or denied. And even if that chance is not taken now, God's timing is perfect. Your role was to hold up the mirror faithfully, and that is a powerful act of obedience and love. Remember, it is the mirror that reflects the light, not the light that is diminished by the reflection. You were the light in their darkness, shining with a clarity they could not handle. Your authenticity is not a weakness, it is your strength, and it will continue to guide you into the healing and peace you deserve. Your deliverance is also your testimony. When you finally found the strength to walk away, to break free, to reclaim your life from the grip of a narcissist, you stepped into something far greater than freedom. You stepped into the beginning of a powerful story, your story. a story not just of survival but of triumph. It is a testimony that has the power to inspire, to heal, and to change lives. Every step you took away from pain and manipulation was a declaration that no one's identity or worth is defined by the chains others try to place on them. Deliverance is never accidental. It is the fruit of a journey filled with struggle, prayer, and faith. When you look back on the moments when leaving seemed impossible, when hope felt like a distant dream, you can see now that those moments were the crucible that made your testimony so strong. Your escape from the narcissist hold is not just a chapter closed. It is a beacon lit, a light that shines brightly for others still trapped in confusion, fear, and loneliness. Your story shows them that there is a way out, that the pain they feel now will not last forever. The truth is, many people walk silently through similar battles. They suffer alone, afraid to speak, afraid to be judged, afraid that no one will understand. But your testimony breaks that silence. When you share your story, whether in words or simply through the life you live, you become a voice for those who have none. You tell them, you are not alone. You can heal. You can rise. This is a gift greater than any of us can fully understand until we have been given it ourselves. Your deliverance is not just personal, it is purposeful. Sometimes the narcissist will try to steal your story. They may try to rewrite it, twist it, or silence it. But your truth cannot be taken, your healing cannot be erased. The scars left behind are not marks of defeat, but badges of courage. They remind you, and everyone who sees your story, that you fought battles most wouldn't survive and came out stronger. Every tear shed, every heart touch endured has been transformed by God's grace into a testimony of hope and redemption. You might not see it now, but your life has become a living sermon. A sermon that says no darkness is too deep, no wound too wide, no brokenness too great for God's healing power. Your deliverance tells a story of God's faithfulness, how He walks with us in the valley of the shadow, how He lifts us up when we cannot stand, and how He restores our joy when all seems lost. So hold tightly to your story, share it when you can, protect it when you must, and remember that your testimony is a sacred gift from God. It is a light that will guide others out of their darkness, a signpost pointing to hope, and a reminder that healing is possible. Your deliverance was never just about you. It was about becoming a living witness of God's power to redeem even the most painful chapters of our lives. God allowed it to lead you to your greater purpose. When we are in the thick of pain and confusion, especially when it comes from being caught in the life of a narcissist, it is easy to ask, why me? Why this? But the reality is that God never wastes a wound. Every hurt, every betrayal, every tear shed in the silence has a divine purpose that often remains hidden until we come through the storm. What you have endured is not a random accident or a cruel twist of fate. It is part of a greater plan designed to prepare you for a calling far beyond your current pain. Sometimes the path to purpose is paved with suffering. It is in the crucible of difficulty that God refines us, shaping our character and deepening our empathy. The narcissist's actions may have left scars, but those scars are not signs of defeat. They are the marks of preparation. God uses those very wounds to equip you to minister to others who are walking through similar valleys. Your experiences have given you insight that no book or sermon could ever teach. You know the darkness intimately, and you know the way out because you have walked it yourself. Your story of surviving a narcissistic relationship is not just about you. It is about how God intends to use you to bring hope and healing to many. You have been given a unique perspective that can break cycles of abuse, silence, and despair. Your journey has made you a guide, a counselor, a friend to those who feel lost in their own battles. What once felt like a curse is now becoming a calling. God is transforming your pain into a powerful tool for ministry. Greater purpose often means turning our pain into passion. It means using the lessons learned in hardship to fuel a mission of compassion and justice. The grace that sustained you through the darkest days is the same grace that will empower you to uplift others. God's plan is not just to heal you, but to send you out as a healer. Your experience has given you credibility and compassion that few can claim, and through this, you can bring real change to lives that desperately need it. It's important to remember that purpose does not always come with immediate clarity. Sometimes, you may still question why you had to endure so much, but faith reminds us to trust God's timing and His greater vision. What seems like a detour or a dead end is often the very path God uses to position us for His work. Every step you have taken, every tear you have cried, every battle you have fought has been part of a divine preparation for the future God is already unfolding for you. You are not defined by the narcissist's cruelty or the pain they caused. You are defined by the love, resilience, and faith that God has woven into your soul through that experience. The greater purpose awaiting you is filled with hope, service, and new beginnings. The trials were not the end of your story. They were the beginning of a powerful testimony that will inspire others to rise above their own struggles. So stand firm in this truth: your life has been shaped for a purpose that only you can fulfill. The pain was never wasted. It was the foundation for the remarkable work God is preparing you to do. And when you walk into that purpose, you will see that every moment of suffering was part of the journey to the abundant life He has promised. So now, as you stand at this crossroads, wounded but not defeated, weary but not broken, remember this: God's hand has never left you. Every trial, every tear, every moment of heartache was not in vain. You were placed in that life for a reason far greater than you may realize right now. The pain you endured has been molding you, refining you, and preparing you for a destiny filled with purpose and hope. You are more than a survivor. You are a light bearer, a testimony of God's unending grace and power to heal even the deepest wounds. Your story is not just about what you suffered, but about what God is doing through you. So walk forward with courage, with faith, and with the unshakable belief that God's plans for you are good and His love for you is everlasting. Trust in that divine purpose. Your healing, your freedom, your future, it all begins here. And the world is waiting to see the incredible life that only you can live, because God put you in the narcissist's life for a reason.